Hi, Paul Friedman here, founder of the Marriage Foundation. A special greeting to you if you're visiting our channel for the very first time. This topic is a very important topic for you if you're really going through marital struggles. Why traditional marriage counseling fails, a better way to heal your marriage is what I'm going to talk to you about. So I was a divorce mediator until 2001. So I'm very familiar with the outcome of traditional marriage counseling because I was the one that the failures were sent to by the marriage counselors. And I love marriage counselors. They're very good people who really want to help. But bear in mind, they're reading off of sheets that go back to Freud, and it's all about Western psychological models that really have nothing to do with marriage. Now, I'm going to go into this deeper, but let's just start there with what is marriage? Because you don't want an air conditioning guy fixing your car. You want someone who knows what they're doing about a particular topic to help you with that topic. So Western psychology deals with phobias of the mind, issues. Sometimes they get into communication, though they're not very good at it, to be perfectly honest with you. And so what happens is they have this idea of marriage that is completely devoid of spirituality. Why is that important? It's important because love is the very basis of marriage. That's what it's meant to be. Now, they've convinced a lot of people that that's not what marriage is about, but it is. When you met your soulmate, you fell in love. And it wasn't, as Western psychologists describe, and you could look this up on Google, what is the definition of love? You know what they'll tell you? An increased form of like. But that isn't the truth. And you know it's not the truth by your own experience. Your experience and mine and everyone's is that love is the ultimate feeling that really reflects who we are way down deep inside. We're souls. So your soulmate and you connecting as soulmates is not some Hallmark greeting card. It's the reality. Marriage means union. It's the union between souls. Then what happens is we get into life after we get married and things start falling apart in our marriages because we were never really given proper instruction. When you take a look at the basic premise of marriage and you translate over to what we learn about marriage, it isn't going to work. And it doesn't work. And the proof of that is over a 50% divorce rate. And yet the therapists, the marriage counselors have been at it for 60, 70 years. How come they're not getting it right? Because it doesn't match. Now, as a divorce mediator, I didn't know that. I truly thought that I was helping people, helping them avoid the divorce courts because they are unbelievably brutal. They drain everything from you, not just your finances, but everything. The courts, and anyone will tell you this, it's an awful endurance. And I got into becoming a divorce mediator because I had a divorce and I experienced courts firsthand. They destroy any remnant of a relationship you may have had with your spouse, and it just gets worse from there. So I became a divorce mediator. I wanted to help people avoid that. I thought I was being a good guy. And then in 2001, a couple who came to me because their marriage counselor said, no, your marriage is over, no chance. They came to me, but they didn't want to get a divorce, and they begged me. They said, you can help us, can't you? You're an expert. We can learn how to communicate from you. We can learn how to negotiate our issues and all of that. Won't you help us? And I said, okay, I'll give it a try. Give me a few months so I could learn more about marriage. first people I went to for help were my friends, the marriage counselors. And I said, what should I do to help this couple? And they said, well, you sit with them, hear what they have to say, help them see it in a more reasonable light, help them understand each other's point of view. And they went on. It sounded so good, but my mind's calculating. I'm kind of a business-minded person. I was divvying up people's assets and kid sharing and all of that. And it just seemed to me that that was going to take them in a big circle, and we'll be right back where we started. So I started to pull back and ask the question that a businessman would ask. Why do people get married in the first place? What product, what result are we looking for when we get married? Because that should determine how to correct what's not working, right? So I thought, I never asked myself that question, why get married in the first place? And I started asking people, even standing in line at Starbucks, I would say, I would see the wedding ring. I'd say, why did you get married? And they said, well, I met my soulmate. I fell in love. Da, 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 all of those normal responses. It wasn't clicking. And finally, I realized, okay, I'll admit it. I said, God, you got to help me here. And it came to me, and it was so simple that I was embarrassed. We all get married because we want to be happy. We get married because we want to be happy. Duh. And I thought, okay, that's a start. Next question. Now I'm giving you all of this background not to tell you a long story. I'm giving it to you so you start to understand your path going forward, because that's what we're going to get into next. So what makes us happy? A new car? Sure, for a little while. An increase in pay? Definitely, for a little while. Hear this, for a little while. What really makes us happy? And so I started to think back at, these little stories I heard of people on their deathbed. They said, if only I spent more time with my kids, and if I wish I would have connected more with people. And I thought, that's not the universal thing, spending time with kids, especially if they're like mine. Or I didn't like the answers. So again, I turned to my great advisor of all advisors, the one who created me, and he slapped me upside the head and said, love. Love universally makes all of us happy, and it's fail-safe. And when you think about it, what would you rather have? All the money? All your kids talking to you together? All of that? No. Love. It is the love that's embedded in these experiences that makes us happy. And I started to put 2 and 2 together, and it came up with a very simple equation. We get married in order to be happy, and what makes us happy in marriage is love. So why are you going to marriage counseling? To learn what you are doing wrong. To learn what your husband or your wife is doing wrong. It doesn't tie together, you see. But I still didn't quite know that. So what I did with my first couple was I called marriage, I coined this phrase, the sacred space of marriage, because it's meant to be filled with happiness and with love. Sacred, right? And I said, now, what do you do when you have a container and you put something that is sweet, like love, into that container? Let's use sugar as an analogy. You create sugar water in this container. What will mess that up, your marriage, faster than anything? Put some poop in there. It'll destroy all the sweetness. You don't even want it anymore. And I realized it's our infusion into our sacred space of marriage that will mess it up. So I worked with this first couple, and I said, here's what you do. Let's talk about what's good, what's not good, and we will create guidelines for ourselves. Okay? And so we used my whiteboard, which was always how I did my divorce mediations, and we listed good, bad. Good is a smile, a compliment. Bad is being critical or saying something to them that is going to make them feel hurt. And the instruction that I gave them was, just don't do this, just do this, and let's see how it goes. And I'm going to call the guy, John. He came back after a few weeks. He said, this is amazing. Things are so much better in our home. But I am me, and who I am keeps coming out. And like anger, which is the biggest killer of peace and happiness, anger is terrible. And I thought, yeah, I have an anger problem. I did. I had an anger problem in those days. And so I went to work again. I communed with God and I said, what do? I couldn't conquer my anger. I don't want to sound all prophet-like or anything because I'm not, but he kind of downloaded a system into my head which transformed everything. And I call it the SO technique. It's truly a gift from God. Stop, evaluate, act with wisdom. That's the outer shell of this. This is way too deep to get into deeply, but it's in our course for men. It's in our course for women. It's in a different form in the 2 books that I've written. And it literally changed everything, not just for them, but for me as well. Because now I was able to get rid of my anger. Can you imagine? And I tried all the anger management stuff and like that, and that doesn't work. But the SO technique even worked on anger. And wow, the big change in their marriage, big change in my life. Long story short, I know you don't believe that. I started to work with people. I gave up my practice, and it was lucrative, of divorcing people, and I started to work with them all along, designing and refining a system that will take people out of where they are in their marriage and bring them to what marriage is all about. Literally walking around happy all the time because you're feeling love all the time. Truly, we have a system. It's based on, but before we go into that, I have to ask you to like the video and subscribe to the channel and even share this video, please. It'll really help us. Now, what happened was I started working with couples. And I noticed some things that just blew my mind. People competed for my attention when I worked with couples. People were very careful about how they said something. They held back. There were all of these things. I even had women flirting with me, so I would be on their side. Because no matter how you set it up, human nature is human nature. I went back to my friends and I said, this is what I'm running into. And they go, oh yeah. Oh yeah? And they said, yeah, you just juggle it as best you can. I said, no, I'm not going to go that route. Now, I also noticed something else when people were coming in as couples. And that is that one was coming in all excited. Finally, we're going to get our marriage straightened out. And the other one was dragged in sometimes by the ear. Well, how's that going to work? It means the one being dragged in is being dragged in. They're not going to put any effort into saving the marriage, right? So I realized the one who's doing the dragging is the one who's going to take responsibility for changing the dynamic of the marriage. Remember the analogy before of a vessel? Well, if one of you, just one of you, in this case it's you, and it doesn't have to be just you, If you take our course for women or for men, depending on your gender, and your spouse is really excited about saving the marriage too, we have a discount for the second program. But usually it's just one. And when you alone are doing all of the work, and I make it sound like, why should I do all the work? Because it's not about, well, I don't want to be the only one. It's about saving your marriage. It's okay to be the only one. I use this analogy sometimes. Marriage is a union. Think of it as a bridge. And you're spanning the gap that has grown between the two of you. Well, it doesn't matter who builds the bridge as long as you have a bridge. So if one of you is just working on the bridge, not your marriage, you can't really work on your marriage per se, but you could work on the bridge, building that bridge, changing yourself. Then your partner is going to meet you on that bridge gladly. And it works. We've been doing this since 2001. We didn't start the Marriage Foundation until 2009 when a fellow divorce mediator who was a Navy SEAL saw what I was doing. He said, Paul, here's $1,000. Things were cheaper in those days. Here's $1,000. Let's start a foundation. Let's get the word out. And this is where the Marriage Foundation came from. Started the Marriage Foundation, a family friend helped us put together all these courses, all these classes, set us up, and now thousands of people have benefited. Now, I'm always reluctant to talk about our success rate because it's so high and people think I'm just BSing them. But look at it in these terms. What we created here, and then tested and refined and got it down to the nubs, is a system. And just like anything else that you want to do, a system will accomplish it if it's accurately defined. Here's what you do, here's the result you'll get. And that's what we have. So we have saved thousands of marriages. We have a guarantee, but we also have a 3-day trial. Now, if your marriage isn't really in big trouble, sometimes we think, oh, my marriage is falling apart, but it's not really. When you think about it, it's only this issue and that. Just read one of my books. It's much cheaper. But otherwise, get the course for women or get the course for men. And trust me, you will be so happy you did. And along with that, because I trained a lot of my friends, psychologists, into our way of doing things. And so now we have TMF marriage counselors who will respond to you when you need them when you're taking the course. If you just have a question, you want to shoot by one of them, it's a free thing. You go to the website, go to Ask a Counselor, and they'll help you with that too. I'm so glad you joined us. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to share. I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation. Thank you so much. And God bless you. God bless your family.